This is the third game in this session, Aaron, we're going to look at. You were white in this game, so we're going to
Yeah.
flip the board again. You had a rating of 890. It just dropped below 900. Your opponent was Himamko with a rating of 916. It was played on the 17th of September 2024, 2 days before we have this training session. And
Mm.
I was pleasantly surprised at your first move.
Mm.
Where did that come from?
There must have been a mouse slip, I'll be honest with you. There's no way I've
Okay.
played D4.
Yeah, I wondered if you just thought, oh, I'm going to play d4 for once, but yeah, you picked the wrong pawn up. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, it's just that you're an e4 player. You suddenly play d4, so I thought, what's going on? But okay, the same principles apply. You can develop your stuff, and that's what you do, similar to the e4 games. Of course, the positions you get are very different. There's a bit of a joke. An English grandmaster, one of your countrymen, Nigel Short, he has been an e4 player all his life. And then he joked by saying d4 on the first move is a better move. And why? Because the pawn is protected on d4.
Oh, yeah.
If you play e4, the pawn is unprotected. You suddenly have an unprotected pawn in your position. But if you play d4, the pawn is already protected by the queen. So it was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment. But in many e4 lines, that e4 pawn sometimes falls off the board, and that won't happen to you in the d4 openings. Nigel Short, he played for the World Championship in 1993 against Garry Kasparov in London.
Wow.
It was a big event. He got slaughtered by Kasparov, but the fact that he made it to the World Championship match was already amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at your game, slightly lower level. H6,
Mhm.
Bishop f4 and g5. Oh yeah, where would you go with the bishop? Of course, your bishop is attacked, is chased. Do you go to e3 or g3 or e5?
Well, the answer is, I think G3, because you're still attacking the centre. But I've found it might be because of bad play. When I go towards the edge of the board, I seem to get it trapped and lose it, so I'm a bit traumatic from that.
Okay. Well, as always, you are very good at explaining your why you do certain things and your fears. Yeah, I think bishop g3 is the logical move here. And the main reason I say that is because of this guy,
Right.
because he can you can play e3 and then a natural development path for the bishop.
Oh, yeah.
When you put it on e3,
You
like you did
block
in the game, then the bishop on g2 is a little bit on f1 is a bit unhappy. Of course, it can
it.
also go this way. Uh, but yeah, but also as you said on g3, it looks more towards the center, and he will not. Sorry, he will not trap your bishop that quickly. If you're
Was
worried
that a,
about it, you
what,
can
what,
always
what, was-
play.
what
Yeah,
was that went past with a cat?
yeah. My cat came in through the window. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
no, it's fine. I just saw something. I thought, oh,
My cat is
right.
on YouTube. Um, if you're worried about that bishop being trapped, then you can always play
Yeah,
h3 and put
yeah.
it there. So yeah, bishop g3 is a more harmonious move than bishop e3. Um, he played e5. Well, attackers versus defenders. Thank you very much. I take your pawn.
Nice.
And he thought he'd get it back with knight g4. Uh, now he's attacking the pawn on e5 twice, and it's only defended once.
What pawn is he attacking? Sorry. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So what can you do? Let's look at this position for a few seconds. What's a good move here? Knight g4, attacking you. He's threatening to win the pawn back. What's a good move here?
Bishop d4.
To protect it again. Yeah, protected the second time. Is there anything you can, checks, captures, attacks, any captures, anything you can take in this camp for free? Thank you very much.
D5 with
Yeah,
the knight.
with the knight. But then he can take on e5, right? And he takes that pawn. If you take with a knight,
yeah.
But yeah, it's possible. It wins the second pawn. He can win a pawn back.
Right. So let's go back.
Okay, let's go here. Knight g4 was played by black.
Yeah. So the question is, what can I play to defend the e5 pawn again? Or are you saying there's something else I can take?
Well, no, I was thinking of queen takes d5.
Right. The thing is I wouldn't think that because I'd like to keep my queens on the board.
Yeah, and that makes sense because you like to attack. You're an attacking player. You like the queens on the board, and that's great. And I guess sometimes for practical reasons, you might have to say, well, okay, in this case, you're now 2 pawns up, right?
Yeah, fair
In the
enough.
last 2 moves, you have taken 2 of the central pawns, 2 central pawns up.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to look, well, if he swaps the queens, can he now take that pawn back on e5?
Yeah.
What happens if you, let's say he takes knight takes e5, win 1 pawn back? Is that a good move? What can white do now? Checks
Yeah.
captures attacks.
C7, knight.
Exactly. Ouch. The knight is suddenly jumping in there, and you win not only a pawn but also a rook, and he will have to work hard to get a knight
Yeah,
for that rook.
that's
So
fair. So by actually trading queens or putting my queen forward, I get an advantage, do I really?
yeah. So in this case, then you say, okay, well, if he this might not be such a bad idea to swap the queens because I'm 2 pawns up, and he cannot after queen trade he cannot take my e5 pawn. So yeah, you have to know when to put that. It's just it's just for concrete reasons, For concrete
Yeah.
reasons, queen takes d5 is a good move, even though it swaps the queens. But yeah, if it keeps you 2 pawns up with a nice position, then that's the right thing to do. You played queen d3, and probably again a half move. It's not doing much. And he says, "Thank you very much. I'll take the pawn back. Knight takes, knight takes." He can still take on d5 here. Can still play queen takes d5,
Yeah.
winning the central pawn, but you didn't see it. You didn't see that the pawn was hanging. Checks, captures, attacks. So you dropped your queen back, which was attacked. And now he defends his pawn. So suddenly you could have had his position without the pawn on d5. That's a bit of a pity because, and those are moves you really should see. That pawn was just hanging.
Yeah. So again, I just because it ends with the queens off the board, which I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah, but
only
then
reason.
then yeah.
But now I know the logical reasons of moving towards an end game. If I trade everything, I'm 2 pawns up. That's nice as well.
Yeah, and also it's a central pawn, that this position
Yeah.
without that pawn on d5 is a big pawn. The central pawn is protected. You could have had a position without it. And there's still a lot of material left. It doesn't mean that the game is a dull game because the queens are off.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
yeah.
You cancelled queen side. He develops, and he played f4.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I just I thought if he takes, I take back, attacking the knight. I'll be honest with you, I just didn't know what to play. I should have moved the bishop really on the e3 to start getting the bishop out on f1.
Yeah. Well, you said exactly what I wanted to say. If you don't know what to do, improve your worst piece. I'm sure I said it to you
Or
before.
or I could have played bishop to d4,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, attacking
So
the loose knight. He probably will develop and protect the knight at the same time. But yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. And then you can play e3 and get your bishop out.
yeah.
So, but you said here I didn't know what to do, and I mentioned this. I'm sure, before. If you don't know what to do, can you improve your worst piece?
Yeah.
And which is your worst piece?
F1.
The bishop on f1. So g3 is a very logical move. And then put the bishop on g2 or h3. No, g2, of course, here.
Yeah.
So that's also, if you don't know what to do, instead of banging out the pawn move, which which you played, as you say, because you didn't know what to do, try to improve your worst piece, and you have probably a better move.
Yeah.
So this is quite an instructive moment,
Yeah.
because you said a few times now in this session, the last few videos, I didn't know what to do, and then instead of banging out the pawn move, pawns don't move backwards. Always be careful with pawn moves. Can you do something more constructive? And at your level, you should be able to find out that your bishop on f1 is unhappy and needs to be put in the game. You know that.
Yeah.
And also, that's also a moment where you then take a bit of time. I don't know what to do, and then instead of just banging out a move, have a look around and see what's going on and talk to your pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. f4, by the way, doesn't spoil anything, but there was a better move. Knight c4. Yeah, I highlighted the bishop, but we already talked about that. Attacking your queen, queen d4, with a nice little threat. You never know if they forget that that rook is hanging in the corner. And he says, I'm going to attack your queen. Thank you very much, says Aran. That's how things go. Can he take material back straight away?
Yeah. The bishop on e3.
Yeah, he can take on e3, and he's won a bishop for his trouble, but you still want a rook for a bishop. Anyway, that's very tactical, but he didn't see it. He played queen b6, and that's also a good move because it's checkmate on b2. And again, suddenly it has all gotten very tactical. And this is not so easy. How do you defend against checkmate? The way you did it is not the right way, but I cannot really fault you for that. You played
Are you going to
b3.
say knight to a4?
Oh, that is the move. Attacking the queen, and if he plays queen b5, attacking your knight.
What will I do now?
Not easy. I won't expect you to find it. If you find it, I'm gonna ring the
Okay.
newspaper. There's one very strong move here. Not easy to find.
Okay, let me think. Um, is it bishop to c5?
Okay, I'm gonna ring the newspaper.
Hmm.
But you have to explain to me why it is such a strong move.
Well, that's pinned.
Yeah.
And it's checkmate on the next move.
Which is if white plays a move, it's
Queen
checkmate. Which,
queen takes f8.
yeah, I have a square, don't I?
Well, I found it because I thought it. I like the fact that he takes a piece with check. Is if I'm honest with you, that's what I thought. I thought take that. I can't see why, but that's. I think we've said in the past. We both got there. You say it to the technical way, and I say it to the wishy-washy way. But that's what I would have done.
Yeah. Well, and that's why knight a4 was such a nice move, because knight a4 protects c5 as well. That
Yeah.
knight is doing a super job. It's protecting against checkmate. It's covering that c5 square, and suddenly it's combining defense and attack. And that is, if you can make moves which combine defense and attack, then you are then that's the beauty of chess. Then you're doing really well.
Just two things. Firstly, in the past, you saying the newspapers, called the newspapers, has become a bit of a meme with our sort of journey here. The fact that when my opponent doesn't move his pieces, then he says eventually he moves his pieces, you say, bloody hell, he's moved his piece. Somebody called the newspaper. For the first time in our journey, I'm the one to have the newspaper caught on them. So that's pretty funny. When I found the piece, the movie went, called the newspaper on me. And the second thing is that's got to be probably my best moment in this whole journey yet that I found that move.
Yeah.
So what's the
Yes.
reasoning for it then? Because mine was Queen takes Bishop on F8. He has a square. I thought that might have been checkmate, but okay, he has a square on D7, of course. And I see that now. What was your reasoning, Rick?
No, but no. Also, I mean, Queen takes F8 wins a piece. By the way, also wins the Rook on A8 because of the King D7, Queen takes A8. You take all his pieces and you don't get checkmated. Yes, he can
Yeah.
take the knight on A4, but you have taken so much material, even though you have very unhappy pieces here. So it's a difficult line. It just works out for white. But for very concrete reasons, it all works together. You have to
So can we
calculate.
just go back? Because we've said it in chunks. Can we just see it in the fluid motion then? So, right, so he's moved there, great. So you're advising that I do knight to A4.
Yeah, and that protects against checkmate because it protects the b2 square. So that's
Yeah.
one thing. It
But can
attacks
I
the
say,
queen.
sorry, here, you always hear the saying knights on the rim is dim.
Yeah, but that
That's why I don't
always
play.
not in this case, because in this case the knight on a4 does a great job. It protects against checkmate. It attacks the queen, which gives you a move, and it protects c5, which makes bishop takes c5 possible on the next. It's performing miracles, that knight. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's and knight on the rim is dim is a very general rule, and there are exceptions to that rule. And in this case, the knight on a4 is a super piece for tactical
Um,
reasons.
can I just say, if when I move the bishop to C5, can because the queen moves, doesn't it, to B5 now? And
Yeah.
then the bishop moves. Can the queen take my knight though?
Well, yes, it can. So let's get rid of some arrows. Um, so let's have a look. Queen takes a4. Thank you very much. A full piece.
Yeah.
White to
Because I'm
play.
just saying, if queen takes, I know I have a move in between, but if queen takes A2 and then A1, that's checkmate, isn't it? Because the
That's a
knight's
threat. That's a threat. Yes.
yeah. So I'm gonna play queen takes F8.
Okay. At least he doesn't have time to play queen takes a2
He then
because
plays uh D7.
king d7.
Right. Now I've got to be a bit do but do I take the rook? Then he has a move. Or do I
Then he
not?
then he takes a2 and
Yeah.
yeah,
And then I take B7.
check.
Where does he go? There, yeah. And then do I dare say do I play rook to D5?
Uh, was that yeah? You did. Have you calculated it, or did you just say that I
No,
want
because
to
I'm
take?
thinking if he takes right, that's how I do it, and he takes, the bishop takes. So now it's just I'm thinking it's out the way because that was originally defending the D7 square. So I just thought, should I get it out the way?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, you have to calculate this really well. And I guess the danger is not so great. Queen a1 check mate is a big threat, but you always have a perpetual check. If you can't win this because you have very passive pieces on f1 and h1, if you cannot checkmate him with queen and bishop, then you can always look for a perpetual check. And in this case, you are able to win it.
yeah,
Um,
let's go back then. Sorry. So
yeah,
where was I? So if we go back where I
back
didn't sacrifice the
back to
rook.
knight a4, queen b5, bishop takes
No,
c5.
yeah, no, to the back where I took the bishop on F8.
Yeah, queen takes a4, queen takes f8 check, king d7.
Yeah, and then I took the rook, didn't I?
Yeah, queen takes
And then he took
a2.
A2. I take B7.
Yeah, king
Right. And then
d8.
he can move to right. And then do so I've got two checks. E7 or b8.
Yeah, I show you the nicest. There's lots of lines here. White is winning in every line, but I show you a nice one. What you can do here is give another check on b8, and if he goes king d7, then you can now take on a7, and that's what's the point of queen takes a7? Why is that suddenly game over?
Because I'm up material with trading down.
Exactly. You force the queens off now because it's he doesn't have time for queen a1 checkmate because he's in check, and also your queen is covering the a1 square as well. So the
We
queens
have
are
to
being
take.
swapped, and you're a lot of material up. You just need to then develop your king side pieces.
Wow.
So you get queen a
Mad.
like this, and then all you need to do is activate your pieces, and then you win because you're two rooks up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the
This was
easiest win.
all. This was all possible, you know. For
Yeah, but
like,
this was difficult. You know, this position, queen b6, to find knight
yeah,
a4 and bishop takes c5. I don't know. That is very difficult because it has to work. It does work, but you have to find it.
yeah.
Uh,
And I've got to say though, I'm not a GM, but I did find knight a4, bishop c5. Okay, you prompt me, yeah, but I did find it.
yes, you did find it. No, well done. I can't argue with that. You did find it, not in the game, but in the analysis, you did find it.
I find nothing in the game.
Well, but I would not expect you to find in the 10-minute game knight a4 and bishop takes c5. If you don't know it's there, if somebody tells you, oh, there's a great combination, you might find it, but you didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah,
A very
yeah.
difficult one to find, but it works.
Right.
It also works out perfectly, but it looks very dangerous for white. That checkmate threat on b2 looks so dangerous.
Mm,
And that's why I understand you play a move like b3 to take that
yeah,
checkmate threat out, but unfortunately, you had a better option. He now takes the bishop, take that piece that he could have taken earlier, rook d3, and it's still okay. By the way, it's still a game. This is a nice move. G takes f4, protects the knight. You attack this knight, and now he protects it with his pawn. Knight a4. There's that move again.
yeah,
But now there's no bishop takes c5 follow-up because the bishop is off the board. Queen
yeah,
b4. The queen was attacked. You bring your queen back into the game. And now his queen infiltrates. And yeah, the fact that those pieces are not playing, that does hurt white. Here you're an exchange up, but you have just two pieces that are looking on from afar. You have not completed your development. And that's back to, 10 moves ago when we said we need to bring that unhappy piece into the game. And that's now hurting you. King b2, and he takes that piece even on its starting square, and that's not nice. But this is such a crazy game. This is such unusual that you have a black queen on e1 and a black knight on f1. When do you ever see that?
yeah.
Um,
And it's pinned, isn't it? Really, the knight's pinned for the time being.
yes. How can you make? I was just going to go into that. How can you make use of the fact that the knight is pinned, even in a very weird way, but it is pinned? How can you win the knight?
Oh wow, I can win the knight. Okay, let's go with queen takes f4.
Yeah, queen takes f4, and the knight is attacked twice and cannot play. And rook f3 does the same thing. Okay, queen takes f4
Oh,
picks another
yeah.
pawn, but rook f3 also
So
works.
in the game, I would have said, right, that's pinned. Right, that's pinned. How can I need to bring it? Pin piece is a poor defender. Let's bring an attacker in.
Yeah, exactly. And then game is still on. You
Yeah.
did on c5 instead.
Oh,
Sorry, you took. Oh, you played knight takes c5. Sorry, and that just hangs a piece, right?
yeah.
Thank you very much. He said. But you probably had seen this, or because you have the skewer.
Yes.
Yeah, but does it work?
No. Bishop f8
And he brings
interposed.
the bishop back. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And now you're in trouble. You brought the queen back. Of course, the queen was not doing anything on h8, so you bring it back. And here he can take on e2, and then his knight is free to go, you know. He didn't do that. He played f5 and
Come on.
rook d1.
Yes, come on.
Yes, come on.
I'm playing. I'm talking like I'm watching this for the first time.
So you win that knight after all. But this is such a weird position, you know. I can't get over the fact that he has a queen with black, a queen on e1 and a knight on f1. He took the pawn, and you said, "Thank you, I have the knight." So if we do a body count, it's
Yes.
not so bad body count wise, you know. 2 bishops for the rook. He played king f7. You attack his queen.
Nice.
Nice, but he eats a pawn. You eat a pawn.
Oh, I should have played queen to e5.
This one.
Yeah.
Attacking the bishop, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I see a very good move for black. See if you can
Rook
find it.
e8.
No, a much better move. He wins your queen.
Bishop g7.
Bishop g7 is nice, isn't it?
See, you know, like how I can see that they're in the diagonal, and I'm getting a bit quicker at them.
Yeah.
I could have showed you 5 games where I won pieces off that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, all your wins. I mean, you have so many wins as well that we never look at, but you do this all the time in your wins. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
So queen e5 is not a great move. Queen takes f4 is better.
Yep.
He brings his last piece to the party.
Oh.
Rook d2, yeah, threatening on c2, of course. So you saw that. So you played rook d2, nice move, protected by the queen.
Yep. Yep.
He gives a check. King b1, bishop a3, yeah, threatening queen b2, checkmate.
So hold on, who's better than me with the 2 rooks, or him with the rook and the bishop pair?
Well, objectively, he's better now. You know, two bishops are worth 3 each, so that's 6, and the rook is 5. He also has an extra pawn on the board, so he has more material. And yeah, king safety. They're probably both kings are a bit unsafe. Your king has more pawn protection, but the dark squares are really weak around your king. And he's just put that bishop there, and he's threatening checkmate. So black is better. Well, what can you do against checkmate anyway?
Queen d4.
Yeah, queen d4 or rook d4 keeps the game going. But let's say queen d4, you said. Yeah, he can swap the queens, and then he's just material up, you know, an extra pawn and 2 bishops for the rook. And it's a technical position. No more checkmates anytime soon, but black is better.
Yeah.
But you played queen e3, you didn't see the checkmate. Now
Oh.
you were focusing on attacking e6, and then
Mm.
this was the final move.
Yeah.
But yeah, similar pattern, good opening play. And when the tactics happened, your opponent in this game and in the previous 2 games from this session was better tactically. But of course, it's also because we only look at your losses, because we could easily have looked at 3 games where the openings went the same, and then the tactics worked out in your favor.
Yeah.
But you decided to look at only at your losses, which, as I said, I commend you for that.
No, thanks, Rick. We'll leave it there. Thank you.